Let's bring out our guest, Katie. She is an attorney, podcaster, and video creator who regularly entertains her 1.4 million TikTok followers with lawyer hijinks and incisive pop culture insights. You can also check her out on her podcast, Rebuttal, which is available on all major platforms. We are happy to welcome Reb Masel on A Break the Business. Hey, Reb.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing so well. Happy to be chatting with you and just, right off the bat, that audio setup that you have there, this is why we love having podcasters on, because they come prepared.
I wish I could say that I didn't just file an ex parte motion literally 2 minutes before I joined, emailing. I'm glancing at my phone, looking at emails, eating a stale bagel, jumped on as fast as I could. So look, just like my TikTok, appearances can be deceiving. I look like I have it together, but in reality, I plugged in way too late. But I appreciate that.
I do want to talk about that aspect of what you do, because as a lawyer in my own right, finding time for this creative thing that I do with Katie and with our producer and with the whole Break the Business team while handling filings as you're doing, or having to hop on a late night meeting with a crazy client. That's a balance. And I would love to get your perspective on how you do that. But first, I want to kind of carry the conversational thread that we had from the prior segment about Instagram threads. As somebody as active as social media as you are, I would imagine you have thoughts about the new platform. Are you going to move on to Instagram threads? Are you going to make that part of what you're doing?
See, my thing with the new social media, right, applications, platforms, waves that are coming up either by design or because a prior beloved platform is going down the fucking tubes. Sorry if I'm not allowed to curse on here for freaking tubes. I honest to God, am just keeping my finger on the pulse of what my followers want and what the people who appreciate my content want. And I am very much, when it comes to social media, not the first to enter a wave, right? I'll probably feel it out and see if it's the new thing, if other people have decided, right, to move over and people are doing it and they're saying, oh, you're on Twitter, that's washed up, or oh, you're on.
Oh, I think we lost Reb there, right in the middle of a scintillating point. I hope we get her back. But I that's an interesting perspective that she brought up there about how she intends to take a wait and see attitude towards threads, whereas I am getting on there yesterday, right? I was just refreshing threads.net the whole time, F5ing it for the moment that I could get in. Reb, the much more accomplished person on social media, is being much more nuanced about this. She's not ready to pack up her things and go to the next hot new platform. She's ready to take her time and go from there. And that's probably the better approach, and why she's going to be better at this. When we do get her back, I will ask her about the balance aspect of this, because here's one of the things I want to talk to her about, Katie, that I think is interesting is lawyers, by and large, we don't let them have personalities. I don't know what it is about our profession, about what we expect of lawyers, but our profession just harbors this expectation that all of us have to just be law robots. And when you work at a law firm, for example, they are very strict about what else you do. You know, if you're going to be on the radio, if you're going to, like, I've had lawyers who I want to have on this podcast to talk for 5 minutes about some legal thing, and they wind up telling me, like, right before they're supposed to go on, oh, I can't go. The marketing department of my firm nixed it for reasons XYZ. Because, you know, we don't let these lawyers have fun. I mean, the only reason I can do what I do, where I'm talking and getting to say what I want, is that, you know, I'm my own boss. And so I don't have to worry about getting a nasty gram from a partner. If I was an associate at a law firm, this would be a huge problem for me, and I'd get in big trouble. Yeah. Are you back, Reb? Did we lose you?
In my defense, the one thing that I did not do was plug in my laptop. So that's my, you know what? I
no, it was a battery issue.
My laptop just turned off. I swear, it's that.
Mine does that too.
I was talking and I'm like, oh, word, just go to black. I love that. Love that for me. Love that for us. That should not happen again. I apologize, but look, right? You're like, yeah. How are you planning on, moving over to Threads, to different social medias? I'm like, I'm trying to get my laptop to fucking work. Like, I'm doing my best to literally, I'm hanging by the skin of my teeth. So I'm sure someone will tell me, like I said, that I'm washed up and need to move over, and at that point, I will.
Well, while we have you back for however long that is, let me ask you about the thing that we were just talking about while we had to filibuster while we lost you for a couple minutes, which is this notion that, and this is something I speak to as well as an attorney, which is we don't really let lawyers do what you and I do, Reb. Have personalities, be public figures. I've tried to have lawyers on my podcast who are attorneys at law firms who, right before they're supposed to go on my show, the attorney calls me apologetically saying, hey, my marketing department at the firm nixed the interview, said I can't do it because we don't let lawyers be interesting. And there was one of my favorite lawyers on Twitter is Peter the Law Boy, who hosts the podcast 5-4, who recently lost his job as a lawyer because his employer found out that he was hosting this podcast. And I find that to be a troubling trend. I think we want lawyers to get out and engage with the world, and we all have a responsibility to educate the masses about the law, but we don't let lawyers be interesting and have personalities. I believe you actually are a lawyer at a firm. Like, what does your firm think about what you do? Do they know what you do? Like,
yeah,
do you keep that hidden? Like,
no. So what I think is unique about what I did from jump, kind of because I had those issues in mind, right? Like I initially, and you can tell from my content, you can scroll all the way back to 2020, the end of 2020, when I started posting videos. I did not have a plan. I did not intend on it being viral, blowing up. It was an outlet. It was a creative outlet for me. For me and my 5 law school followers, like for friends from law school, quite literally, that was it. I was user bunch of numbers with a random profile photo, and that's how I wanted to keep it. And as we know, it quickly kind of grew, and I think it's definitely grown to be bigger than me, and I'm really proud of it. But honestly, the people who follow me and the community that people have built in my comment sections and with the topics that I talk about, comment on, has been great. But from jump, I thought, okay, when I change from user bunch of numbers, do I use my real name? Do I use a fake name? I, at that point, had passed the California bar and had started working at a law firm. And I am, a first-year associate, very much the bottom of the ladder. Okay, the bottom, the absolute bottom. And it was also a law firm at the time that was very it's hard. It's weird to use the word conservative, but they were very much right in our legal world. There are some firms that are more casual, or have kind of progressed with the times of, like, you can wear jeans and a shirt to work or whatever. If you're going to court, then full suit, whatnot. It was very much a very mostly male partner makeup. It was a smaller firm, and it was suit and tie and suit and business uniform, the full costume every day. It was very formal, and they were much older. And so I thought, there's no way in Halibut they're going to say, what's TikTok? And oh my, no. So I, made the Reb Masel account, went by Reb. I, from that point on, did not post and have never posted my location, my firm name, exactly what I do, right? I say that I do civil defense litigation in any and all areas of law, which is correct, but that's vague, right? I don't talk about my clients specifically. I don't disclose things that I know would implicate my firm or the people that I work with. I don't have anyone in my videos who I work with, like coworkers or whatnot, because I don't want them to be, inherently, like, have that reflect on them and have everything I say reflect on them, which it shouldn't, right? Anything that I say in my personal life shouldn't reflect on how I can do my job when I have my costume on. But I knew that the nature of our profession and the nature of our field is that lawyers need to be lawyers, and it needs to be separate. And honestly, it was the best thing that I could have done, not because the firms that I've worked at haven't known about it. Every single one has known about it. They've all found out about it. They've seen my videos, they've seen all of that. And their reaction to it every single time is, well, do you use your real name? I'm like, it's not my real name. Like, do you, do you talk about the firm? No, I don't. Talk about our clients? No. Okay, then yeah. like it's on your free time, right? It's the same thing as, think about how many partners and how many attorneys dabble in, local political situations or on the board of directors of some company or some nonprofit or some charity, or potentially, are involved in some controversial political community, movements. They can't say, I'm a partner of ABC firm. When they do it, they just say that they are an Esquire and they're an attorney, and that's the end of it. So breaking off that affiliation, my firms, and I think rightfully so, have basically classified this, me, my TikTok personality, as me doing something in my personal time as a side gig, a side business, and they don't want to see it if they don't have to see it. Obviously, I also think too, right? Like I want to and have from jump always stood on the platform of lawyers should have personalities. We should not be, right, just some girlies with a hard bob and a front bang who look like, someone who hasn't seen the sun in 10 years and just haven't laughed, haven't giggled, are the equivalent of an AI ChatGPT bot who are attorneys, especially women, female attorneys. So many women think that they need to do so much more to break the stereotype or get their foot in the door in the field by being that extreme opposite of someone with a personality. And yes, there's so many things that we have to do in court and around other attorneys and co-counsel who are men that definitely shouldn't have happened, but do happen with respect to, limiting our femininity or, just trying to overcome the stereotype that's inherently applied to us when we walk in the door. But I'm, happy to say that I am a copy and paste of thousands of women who have long hair and hilarious jokes, and where literally 3 of the partners at my firm were women. They're young, they're cute, and they wear yoga pants to work every day. Like, I think that just having it be visible that these women can have personalities is so important. And I hope one day that we won't get fired for having platforms. Because that's unfortunate. It's a bummer. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they were wrong in not using using their real names, like the host of the 5-4 podcast. But I think, I talk about controversial things on my page. I talk about things on my page that, some of my clients might not agree with, might not like, but by the nature of being an associate at a firm whose clients are the clients of the partner that I'm working for, right? As lawyers know, like I don't really have a lot of control over who I'm representing or the issues that I'm really dealing with. It makes sense, the rationale behind it, but I really hope that one day we can just be people online and elsewhere and not have it be, somehow a representative of how we can do our jobs. Well, which, if anything, if you're the host of the 5-4 podcast, you probably do your job pretty dang well. Like, you probably know how to do your thing. That's my thing. That's my opinion. But
I think that's what happened to Peter the Lawboy. Is he did a pretty good job of segregating what he was as an internet personality versus what he was at his company. Like, you have to do a lot of Googling to find out who he is and where he worked. But people found out, and eventually the podcast got so big and he got so big that there was the two things bled into each other. And this very conservative company, your words, that he worked for, realized they didn't want somebody working for their company who was, having some pretty leftist legal content on his show and, didn't maybe match with the values of some of the people that he worked with. And, that was the end of what he did as a lawyer. And that's unfortunate. And I can't help but think about the role that gender plays in it, as you noted, Reb, because you said, like, there is no difference between what you do on TikTok versus when a law firm partner posts political statements on his Facebook page and, doesn't affiliate himself with the firm when he does it, but still does it. And you're absolutely right. There is no significant difference there, except all of the people that I know who do that, because I know plenty of law firm partners who will make those kind of Facebook posts. They're almost always men. We don't let women do that. And whereas when a man does that, we say, oh, that is just a lawyer speaking his mind about an issue of public importance. And I'm guessing when a woman tries to be Reb Masel, there's a significant portion of the profession that says, oh, that's just a girl doing TikToks, which demeans our holy profession.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I think that as women too, what I experienced from day one of being a law student, which is, your foot barely in the field as a practicing attorney yet, it was always that for me, I graduated in the top of my class. I was on law review. I was on moot court. I did everything possible to get to have the best chance, right, of having my resume look glowing and gorgeous and beautiful. And I noticed that for me, walking into a room, right, where there are like 3 attorneys on the other side from a law firm, right, just OCI on-campus interviews, going into, interview for internships or interviewing for internships or externships with judges, all of that. I walk into a room, right, and I, even though I have a severe bun in my hair and I am looking, sharp, I have everything's put together, clean, suit, everything. Anytime I interview with men, I always get treated a little bit differently before and after they have glanced at my resume and actually seen what's on it. They always treat me a little bit differently before they look at it. They treat me like a woman. It's almost like it's just hard to explain unless you're a woman in that scenario. But when you have a man who kind of just doesn't take you seriously, they're like, "Hi, yeah, nice to meet you." They're kind of like, whatever. And then they look at your resume and then mean business. As a woman in this field, that parallel can be copied and pasted just so many times in the courtroom before you open your mouth and a judge looks at you, with opposing counsel in a mediation or an arbitration before you open your mouth and say exactly what you need to say. They look at you like you need to prove that you are basically better than what they see. And for men, what I've found and what I've heard and also witnessed with men who are in my age group, right? Same age as me, who might be, have a resume that's exactly opposite of mine. Bottom of the class, did nothing, and also just a general douche canoe. They walk in with a nice, right? They walk in with a nice suit and a decent watch, and they are taken seriously until proven otherwise. And women are not taken seriously until proven otherwise. And I won't say that happens obviously every single time, but I think that comes that also can be copied and pasted to the social media aspect, right? Women who are on social media, even the firms that I've had to tell about it, right? Like before, like they didn't find out. I was kind of like, hey, so you just FYI, their face is always drained. Like they immediately think that I have like an OnlyFans, or they immediately think that I'm like doing TikTok dances and doing nothing that's like related to my personality. That's very much like, just a cash grab situation. And I always, and yes, fair for them to think that, but also, right, if I was a man, they wouldn't immediately go to that. They wouldn't immediately think it's an OnlyFans. They would probably think it was a podcast. They would probably think it was something legitimate. So
it just stinks to me that the profession, even though you're able to do it, right? You haven't lost a job yet, or at least not your current job. You still, there's still an element of you doing this from the shadows, which is a shame because, like with my show, for example, this program, in addition to being fulfilling in 1,000 other ways, is the best thing that ever happened to my legal practice. The connections I get from this, the clients that I get from doing this because they see me doing this and they go, "Oh, he knows something about entertainment law. Let me get him as my attorney."
Right.
A law firm that, if a law firm was actually able to see past, their own conservatism and realize the marketing power of somebody who has 1.4 million followers on TikTok and more on other social media channels and figure, wow, how can we use this to, bring people to our firm, to boost awareness and, boost the profile of this young attorney who has engaged a generation who maybe doesn't think about law and legal services yet, but they don't because they're conservative. And that's a shame. Because if they were willing to unlock what you have to offer, the value of that is tens of millions of dollars more.
Right. And I would say that definitely from the time I started, my account on TikTok and it started growing, I mean, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of emails, DMs, comments of people who were legitimately, right, either like it doesn't have to be just, you know, the random person saying, hey, my ex was just arrested for DUI, can you please come help, you know, the ones that are a little sketchier, very much legitimate companies or of counsel who have reached out and said, hey, you know, I want to work with you, et cetera, et cetera. You know, because I am a younger associate and because I very much want to keep these two parts of my life separate for right, professional reasons, for all the reasons that we just talked about, right? Because firms don't like that. They don't want to see, you know, someone who could potentially be on a billboard or talking, you know, saying the F-bomb every other word on a social media site and talking about their very,
calling people douche canoes, you know.
Right, calling people douche canoes, right, exactly. And, you know, and very much not being very open about their views on certain things, their personal views on certain things. They, you know, they don't want that to be something that clients, you know, will connect to their business and connect to their firm, because there are people who I work with who are partners and associates who don't align with my values, but who align with my values when it comes to being an attorney and when it comes to doing our jobs. And as we know, you can very much be a very political person in the sense that you have opinions about literally anything mild that impacts our country or our society, and not have those views impact the way that you practice, in the sense that you're not, right, like you could read a brief on any random legal issue in this country, right, pull a motion out of the docket on any federal docket, that's for sure, and not be able to guess what side of the fence any of the attorneys are who are arguing it, because very much the legal issues that we're arguing aren't inherently political, except for, you know, a certain subset. But right, you're arguing precedent, you're arguing in a court of law. I think that absolutely social media is, for the most part, an untapped commodity that a lot of law firms aren't taking advantage of. And the ones that are very much the ones who are the sole practitioners who are getting after it. And you've seen on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, they're after it. They are, right. I'm mutuals with a lot of attorneys on TikTok who've blown up and who get calls all the time, and they absolutely advertise their full government name, you know, on their page. But most of the time it's solo practitioners who can do their own thing and don't have anyone who can tell them otherwise. So I think, you know, I think that one day maybe for me, but for now, also another thing that a lot of attorneys, and I'm not saying just because you're a man you wouldn't understand this, but for my own safety and privacy, that was also the main thing in the forefront of my mind when I didn't do my real, you know, I didn't post my bar number on my site, is because, as you know, at least where I practice in California, you have to post like California bar website, everything, and most state bar websites, it'll have your full name, your bar number, and the address of where you work, and your email and your phone number. And I had a few times where someone found me online, which, you know, like if you really worked hard enough and were a weirdo, then you could. And they were calling my HR department at my firm. They were like threatening me and all these things. And of course my law firm handled it, you know, well, right. They weren't assuming that it was my fault or my problem. And they were very much putting my privacy and my safety at the forefront of their minds. But the general public, the one thing I've learned from TikTok is the general public is insane. No offense, but full offense to everyone who's the general public. Like truly, everyone's insane. Even my fans love them to death. They're insane. They've forced people to get off TikTok just because they've said like mildly, you know, critical things of me, and they've bullied them into next Tuesday, which I don't condone.
Yeah.
But they kind of deserved it most of the time. But right, I'm saying that obviously as a woman and as a man too, but as a woman, like I want to be able to walk to my parking garage and not feel like I need to be escorted. That would be a little much, especially because I'm trying to learn the ropes. I'm trying to be an associate. I'm trying to learn how to practice by literally practicing law. And I'd like to not be fielding, right, like people around my own place of work.
Man. All right, Reb, here's my dilemma. I have like 3 minutes left before we lose radio, and I have like 1,000 more questions for you. I have not allowed Katie Zaccardi to get a word in edgewise, and just the ultimate display of the patriarchy that we're trying to smash on a daily basis around here. Katie, do you have any questions for Reb? I am so sorry.
Sorry, I also am on tangents at the Yang, so keep going.
No, like I didn't interrupt because I just love everything you were
There you
saying.
go.
And I'm just like furiously nodding my
Love
head.
you.
I feel like a lot of my questions are around TikTok, but it almost feels so silly to go there after like the epic mic.
We can go there. It's okay. We can go there.
Well, because I mean, I feel like where people can learn for you, and my biggest question is like, how do you think, or like, what do you think the top 1 to 3 things are that helped you grow such a fired up fan base who would go to bat for you when needed?
Absolutely, and I would say, unfortunately, just because I know that our field should be pushing toward, you know, lawyers being more out and open. But I think with their full name and government name and bar numbers and et cetera. But I think because I was able to use a name that wasn't my real government name, and be able to just completely disconnect it from my firm and from my professional life, it has become a safe haven for me. And it very much shows, I think, in my content, because when I think about what I post, I'm not thinking about it through the lens of my firm and my boss and my bar number and a judge watching it. I'm thinking of it through the lens of, if I got 0 views on this, would I still post it? If I get 1 million, would I still post it? Right. And if the answer is yes to both of those questions, I post it. And it very much is based on what I feel like posting at the time. They're not planned out. You know, the transcript series has become a little bit more planned out. But yeah, I think number 1 is just authenticity for who I am and what I genuinely believe. And number 2 is just not being swayed by what is most popular among the legal community or the law community to put out, I guess. And number 3, being careful of staying away from posting like legal advice, for sure. And that could potentially result in a malpractice suit, as we know.
Yeah.
And also interacting a lot. Like, interact with the people in your comments, comment back, reply back to everyone if you want to, or if you don't have time to. I reply back to the one, like my videos that get lower views. I'm almost excited because then I get to reply back to everyone and talk to people, and people respond to that. People want to be seen and heard. And I've learned so much from my followers that I'm not just putting out content that I think will be, you know, the next cash grab. I'm putting out things that I hope will reach the people that I love and that I would follow.
All right. We did you so dirty here, Reb, because we didn't even talk about your podcast rebuttal, which is available on all major platforms and is definitely worth checking out. I was consuming a few of them before the show. It was really just like, you know, quite a mind bleep. It was really cool. You know, we didn't talk about like my favorite thing that you do on TikTok, which is reading the court transcripts, which is awesome. So like all I can do is just like beg you to come back on again soon.
Absolutely.
So we can. Okay, good. All right. So let me close with this then. Now that we have your firm binding commitment to come back soon, let me do the final question here. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Put your content first, not the money first. If your content makes sense for who you are, the money will follow. Absolutely.
I love that.
I love that.
Reb, you're the best. You know, you can meet your heroes. See, this was everything I hoped it would be. Really appreciate you giving us a window into your world as a creator, as a professional. Really, really exciting stuff. And again, you know, please come back real soon.
Will do. Thank you, Katie and Ryan, for having me. I really appreciate it, you guys.
Our thanks to Reb Masel, to producer Lauren, to you as well, Katie Zaccardi, always bringing it. And thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.